Is something I just learned of yesterday, but to answer the question as to whether or not I would have taken the same action, which is specifically what the question is, I would take into consideration how many people are employed by this facility, whether they hire locally or not, do they have any violations, and I don't have enough information for that company in particular, but I think it's pretty clear that this could be one of those things that led the way for General Iron to come here. It could have been something that maybe the Alderwoman might not have known about, but this must have been something going on in the works. It makes a lot of sense for General Iron to be coming down here, merging with a company that's getting some nice tax incentives. It makes a whole lot more sense than buying a new facility and starting up something new. So, like I said, I learned of this yesterday. I'm looking into it, and that's all I can do.
So this next question, there's two questions that are very similar, so I'm going to merge them sort of in the same comment. Our commercial corridors in the 10th ward have struggled to retain commercial activity, most notably on Commercial Avenue and on Ewing Avenue. How would you go about revitalizing our commercial corridors? The second question then brings up competition with Indiana in that regard. So there's two parts to this one. It's how do we revitalize our corridors, as well as how do we deal with competition from businesses in Indiana. And this one will start with Mr. Lockhart.
First, I just want to qualify. I think in the question said most notably on Commercial Avenue, Ewing Avenue, but let's not forget about Torrance and Baltimore Avenue, which are suffering equally. For each of our commercial districts, we first need to have a plan in place, and then we need to implement that plan. And when I say implement that plan, we need to first put a price tag on it, then we have to figure out where the money's coming from. There is TIF money available. There's aldermanic menu money. We have an SSA in South Chicago that has money as well. We need to sit down, figure out what the price tag is, and figure out how much money is going to come from which source. But the first thing we need to do is have that plan in place. In South Chicago, you have to take it a step further because of the vaulted sidewalks that exist up there. I had explained earlier how vaulted sidewalks get in the way of building the bump outs, but there's a lot of other things that we would like to see as part of revitalization that cannot be built on the vaulted sidewalks. But the key is to demonstrate to people and to demonstrate to businesses that there is something going on in the area. There is improvement being made. I don't think we're ever going to get a big box store because we are competing with Indiana, but I like to look at other border neighborhoods throughout the city as a model. If you look at Beverly and Mount Greenwood, they're never going to get a Lowe's or a Home Depot or a lot of these things that they want. People in those communities do that kind of shopping in Oak Lawn and Evergreen Park. So we have Indiana. We might have to cross the state line and go to Whiting in Indiana if we want to go to Whiting or Hammond if we want to go to a Home Depot or other big box store. But there's no reason we can't get some mom and pop shops lining our commercial districts because that's what they do in the other communities that border the city limits. And I know we're bordering Indiana. It's a little tough, but a business can survive on the east side. It can survive in Hegewisch and the other communities of the 10th Ward. And we need to find those people who have that entrepreneurial spirit and convince them that stuff is going on here. And the first step is for the city to beautify the commercial districts.
Since I've been here, we have 27 new businesses that have come to the 10th ward, and that means that there's a new business more than some. There's some in commercial, there's some in Hegewisch, there's some actually one in South Deering. 2 more are going to be opening there, as well as the Ewing Avenue. TIF cannot be used on small business. It can only be used on infrastructure. There is a SPIF program that opens at least maybe once a year. Commercial Avenue TIF opened last year. 2 people applied for it. One of the problems with SPIF is because you have to put the money up front and then the money will be paid back to you. You're absolutely right about the vaulted sidewalks. We fixed the vaulted sidewalk by MB Bank because the curb was this high and people in wheelchairs couldn't get on it. Part of the problem with the vaulted sidewalks in South Chicago on commercial, 90% of the people that are there that have a business have their utilities and their merchandise in the vault. They have to pay to have that moved out. The city will not pay for that. And also, the vaulted sidewalk program is a federal program. They're filled in by federal dollars, not city. So I believe that we do. I'm proud to say that I actually helped start the Hegewisch Business Association. 37 businesses showed up in my office 4 years ago, and we were lucky enough to have Bob Wise take the helm and drive that vehicle, and it's become a huge success. They brought back Hegewisch Fest, and he's working really hard to try to help revitalize that area as well. So working together as a team, we can do that. Martha at the Chamber, great. You sit on the Chamber at Eastside Chamber as well. You guys do a good job. South Chicago Chamber has a lot of work to be done. We need to go back and revitalize the chamber as it once was, but right now I think that we're doing pretty well. With 27 new businesses in our ward, I think that's something to be proud of.
Thank you.
Yes, just to clarify something I said that I think might have been misunderstood. I'm not saying that TIF needs to be put into businesses. I'm saying that the TIF needs to be used to fix the infrastructure in our commercial districts and make them look more attractive. Because if I'm opening up a business and I'm driving up and down Ewing Avenue, I'm not going to open up my business there if the city's not even investing in the commercial district. If the city's not investing here, why should I invest my dollars? But we need to convince people that the city is moving. Right now we have trees on Ewing Avenue that have been cut down for like 10 years and there's still a stump.
Thank you. This question will be for Alderwoman Garza. How do you see housing in the 10th Ward as an asset, and what are housing plans for the future?
So we have some of the lowest taxes in the whole city. Our housing stock is great, but it could be better. When you talk about affordable housing, we have 5 senior centers, and all of them have a 2 to 3 year wait to get in. There's veterans that are doubling up and living with people because they have nowhere to go. So to me, that's not accessible. We have the only Goutreau and Opportunity Zone in the whole city, and that lies, both of those are together. So that qualifies for federal dollars to build housing where people can actually come and live and make it affordable. I mean, when you talk about rent at $680, $700 a month, people that work, making $70,000, $80,000 a year, that's affordable. But if you're working at Walmart across the border, you can't afford that. We have to provide housing, especially for families and women with children, something that they can afford. We need more senior and more veterans housing here so that those people are not neglected.
Calling the question is, what's your thoughts on the housing stock in the ward?
And how do you view housing as an asset, and what are your housing plans for the future?
As the Alderwoman had mentioned, the 10th Ward has some of the lowest taxes in the whole city. That's a reflection of the property values in the 10th Ward. The property values in the 10th Ward are a reflection of people's wanting to live in an area versus not wanting to live in an area. We have so many vacant properties in the 10th Ward, especially at the north end of the ward, and that is a symptom of the fact that an increasing number of people, unfortunately, no longer see these communities as a place to live and to raise their children. I disagree. I'm here and I'm raising my children here, and as a matter of fact, the vast majority of my family lives right here in the 10th Ward. We're not going anywhere, but it hurts me to see that there's so many people out there who want to leave. We need to take actions to make sure that people want to stay, and the revitalization of our commercial districts is key to making that happen.
Sue, would you like to any 30 seconds?
I'm fine.
Our next question is written to Mr. Loncar, so you'll have the chance to answer it first. As written, it states, "Are you going to be a full-time alderman?" I believe that is probably in reference to family and other commitments, and so I will open this up, broaden it a bit to include other family commitments, other jobs, anything else that you have going on. Do you have the time and energy to commit to being a full-time alderman for both candidates? Mr. Loncar.
Yes. There's a misperception going on that I somehow wouldn't be able to give the 10th Ward the time that the ward needs when representing the constituents in City Hall. That is absolutely not the case. I've been working around the clock for more than 10 years, started in law school. Working around the clock is nothing new to me. With respect to how I'm going to manage the law practice and be alderman at the same time, this question actually came up yesterday at our virtual meet and greet, and I happily answered it. So if you want to take a look at that again, feel free. But the answer is yes, I will be a full-time alderman, and anything that anybody says to the contrary is based on something other than the facts. But to answer the question, yes.
Can I answer too? So for me, I work 60 to 70 hours a week. I don't have a second job. This is my job. I take it seriously. I watch my colleagues in city council who do have a law practice or who do have another job, and it's very hard for them. And I'm not saying that Bobby would do that, but some people that are lawyers, and they do benefit off of being an alderman. And there is an ordinance actually that's being proposed that you can't hold a second job if you have an aldermanic position. That's on the table, and it's going to be introduced actually in January city council meeting. So that this should be your only job, nothing else, because of everything that's been happening in the news. So.
Just for clarification, my training in the law and my JD and my experience with knowing how to get things done as an attorney is an asset and not a detriment to the position of alderman. I want to be very clear of that. Number two, the odds of that ordinance passing are extremely, incredibly low.
Well, we'll see, because Burke's going to be gone, so.
Alderman Garza will answer this question first. What are you going to do to prevent gangs from taking over? I think taking over is maybe a strong language, but again, I'm reading it as written.
Okay, so I think one of the things that we have to do, and Bobby and I know that we both agree on this, we have to provide opportunities for kids after school. You know what? One of the things that kids turn to gangs is because they don't feel like they belong to something. And the problem is systemic. Lack of funding in education, lack of mental health services, lack of parenting. It's a systemic issue that we need to address. And if we can get to the root cause of those issues, then we'll be okay. Kids that turn to gangs feel left out. If we make them feel part of something, then they won't join a gang. I worked with kids for 15 years, and a lot of times people said to me, why are you working with those kids? Nobody wants you, why are you doing with those? Why are you bringing them to your house? You know what, those are the kids, and now they're 36, 37 years old, and they're successful people because all they need is a chance. That's it.
I agree that there are socioeconomic issues that cause some kids to go that route, and that is very unfortunate. That's one place where the Alderwoman and I agree. And a lot of that came up earlier when I asked about the community centers. But I also want to emphasize that when solving problems with regard to crime and the gangs, we need to not only take a long-term approach, as we just talked about, we also have to understand that some people have already gone that route, and some people are shooting at other people. We need to make sure that we should support our police, and that they have the tools they need to go get these bad guys who are shooting at each other. This is a very serious problem, and yes, long-term solutions require that we change that we help these kids do something other than choose a life of crime. But we need to be realistic, and we need to understand that there are some people out there, grown adults, who have chosen a life of crime for whatever reason, but they have chosen it. And we have to make sure that we keep them where they belong.
So I just want to rebut on one thing, because I know there is a rumor going around that I do not support the police. That is very far from the truth. I support our police and all first responders wholeheartedly. So just want to put that out there.
Thank you.
And this week is Police Appreciation Week, for those of you guys that don't know. So.
At this time, there are 5 minutes left in the event, and so we've run out of time for more questions. Again, if there are still a good number of questions here that we can have time for. These questions will be passed along to the candidates, so they have the opportunity to answer them You have those slips of papers. We'll have time for a wrap-up, but please turn those in at the box on your way out. The two candidates will both have two minutes each to sum up their positions and their reasons of why they should vote for them. Alderman, we're going to start with Mr. Lundberg.
Thanks again for coming out, and I just want to reiterate what I said going into this. This, I think, for many people was the first opportunity you've had to see the Alderwoman and I side by side, to see where we differ in our visions for the 10th Ward and how we're going to get there. I don't dislike the Alderwoman. I want to make clear to everybody in the room that this is not personal, but I think it's clear that we do have some differences of opinion on how to get some of the things done in the ward and where we should hold our priorities. So with respect to anything that we were not able to cover today, please be sure to go to the upcoming aldermanic forums. There's one in Jeffrey Manor on Saturday. Betts Parkway has one next Wednesday, the 16th. And of course, yesterday we did a virtual meet and greet. We Facebook Lived it. It gave residents the opportunity to come out there and ask me any questions they have whatsoever, direct face-to-face. It went very well, and I believe we will be doing another one in the near future. Be on the lookout for an announcement. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate your time.
So I just wanted to say that for me, I've spent 59 years in this ward. My family has been part of this ward for over 140 years. My heart is here, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere either. 4 years ago, when we took this position, we walked into an office with nothing but a paper clip. And I'm really proud of the work that my office and my staff has done to push this ward forward. We have brought some life to this ward that we haven't seen in probably 60 years. So moving forward, all the little seeds that we've planted 4 years ago are starting to grow. And I think moving forward in the next 4 years, we have nothing but bigger and better things to come. So thank you very much for coming. Thank you, Bobby.
I want to say a big thank you to both of our candidates for coming out here tonight. A big thank you to you all. You are a wonderful crowd. I was a little worried, but you got this right.